I forgot Strange New Worlds already introduced its own versions of Star Trek's Trelane. When Strange New Worlds was announced, fans wondered if the show would lean into the franchise's deep well of classic, godlike troublemakers. For decades, Star Trek has had a knack for creating omnipotent beings who love to meddle in the affairs of starship crews, from the original series' Trelane to the next generation's Q. But while many of us waited for the inevitable Cosmic Prankster episode, I completely forgot that Strange New Worlds had already given us its own riffs on Trelane, and in more than one form. Trelane, from the 1967 Star Trek episode, The Squire of Gothos, is one of the franchise's earliest, omnipotent nuisance archetypes. A being of tremendous power but childlike maturity, Trelane delights in forcing the Enterprise crew into elaborate games and theatrical scenarios purely for his own amusement. He's the sort of character who thrives on control, unpredictability, and a flair for the dramatic, traits that have been echoed throughout Trek's history. In Strange New Worlds, the clearest nod to that archetype came in Season 1's The Elysian Kingdom. On the surface, it's a whimsical, fairy tale bottle episode. The crew of the Enterprise find themselves transformed into storybook characters, with Captain Pike playing a cowardly courtier, Spock turned into a scheming wizard, and Dr. M'Benga cast as the heroic king. The culprit behind this fantasy playground isn't Trelane, it's the USS Enterprise itself, possessed by a mysterious alien consciousness known as Deborah. Like Trelane, Deborah isn't motivated by malice but by boredom and curiosity. She reshapes reality for the crew without their consent, dictates the rules of the news story, and essentially turns the Enterprise into her personal stage. It's exactly the kind of power play Trelane would relish, only with a much more emotional core. The revelation that Deborah is acting out the favorite fairy tale of Rukia, M'Benga's terminally ill daughter, adds a bittersweet twist. Instead of simply tormenting the crew for fun, she offers Rukia an escape, even if it means keeping her in this altered reality forever. It's Trelane's chaotic omnipotence filtered through a much more compassionate, though still invasive, lens. But Deborah isn't the only Trelane-like force Strange New Worlds has introduced. Season 2 Subspace Rhapsody brought a very different twist to the formula. While not omnipotent in the same sense as Trelane, the interdimensional anomaly responsible for turning the Enterprise into a full-blown musical certainly channels his spirit. With the snap of reality-bending fingers, or in this case, a wave of subspace harmonics, the crew finds themselves unable to communicate without bursting into song. This musical contagion feels like something Trelane might have cooked up after a few centuries of binging 20th century Earth theater. It's absurd, theatrical, and forces the characters to express things they'd rather keep hidden, all hallmarks of Trelane's brand of mischief. Just like Trelane's forced dinner parties and duels, the anomaly creates drama by stripping away choice and pushing the crew into situations that demand vulnerability. And then there's the Season 2 premiere, The Broken Circle, which doesn't feature a reality-warping god but does introduce an antagonist who uses deception and manipulation to turn the crew's own ideals against them. The Klingon scheme to spark war between the Federation and the Klingon Empire is obviously more grounded than Trelane's shenanigans, but the manipulative, game-playing energy echoes the same kind of puppet master tension Trelane specialized in, only without the omnipotence. The difference is that Strange New Worlds often uses these Trelane-like setups to deepen character arcs rather than simply test the crew's wits. In the original series, Trelane's games were largely about outsmarting him. In Strange New Worlds, reality-warping hijinks become a vehicle for emotional breakthroughs. In The Elysian Kingdom, M'Benga must face the pain of letting go of his daughter. In Subspace Rhapsody, Spock and Chapel's relationship fractures. Pike confronts his uncertainty about his future with Captain Batel, and Lon finally voices feelings she's been holding back. It's a clever evolution of the trope. Instead of revisiting Trelane directly, something that might feel too much like a nostalgia trap, Strange New Worlds quietly retools the concept into fresh narrative engines. They keep the essence, a being or force with reality-bending powers, a setting transformed into a stage, and a cast of characters forced to play along. But they add a layer of emotional resolution that,